We are back, and the lovely lady next to me is Geneve Powell. Geneve, how are you?
I'm finding yourself.
Well, welcome to CWS as it is for the first time.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I truly appreciate it.
Geneve, can you just tell us who you are for our audience, just so you can orient our audience to who you are?
Well, who I am is an American fashion designer with Caribbean descent. I am a college graduate and I'm very passionate about fashion. So I would say that I'm a very confident woman, and I'm very happy.
So tell us, Geneve, fashion. When did you get involved with fashion? I think.
Yes. Hello?
Hi.
Yes.
I was asking you when did you really become interested in fashion?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you too well.
When did you become interested in fashion? The connection is a little bad.
Hello?
Hi. I think
Yeah.
your internet connection is a little, it's going in and out, so that's why. The
Okay.
the question I ask is when did you become interested in fashion, or what was your first introduction to fashion?
My introduction has been from birth. I've always been a little bit extravagant with dressing, and my mother and my father embraced that facet of me, and it just kind of developed from just a natural in the things.
And so designing, you are a designer. So when did this love affair begin? Do you,
Designing. I began designing in high school. However, I went towards the career of psychology, and I did undergrad study at John Jay College, and I
Mhm.
graduated with a BA. However, I appreciated always helping people and understanding and developing my ideas. However, I wanted to concentrate that energy into actually having something tangible.
Mhm.
So whereas I design and then from that piece of paper or from that pattern that I make, I can make something real, something lifelike that someone can enjoy other than myself. They can actually feel it by putting the piece of clothing on. And pretty much, my idea is just lifted from an imagination into something that's real and, tangible.
Mhm. So how often do you get these ideas? And when you get these ideas, how do you know um, that it's something good, or do you know right away it's something good unless you put it to paper on paper?
I always just listen to my heart, and I usually am inspired by a major experience, whether it's an accomplishment, a milestone, if I travel. The idea usually just jumps out at me. It's like I
Uh-huh.
have an aha moment, and I just know it right away.
So when you design, who are you designing for in mind?
I'm designing for the intelligent, confident woman that pretty much wants to embody a lot of who she is into what she wears. Because sometimes when you're in different settings, you're not always able to express yourself through style. So I like to capture the aesthetic end of what a woman may want to embrace, and also something that goes deeper into substance, and to try to connect that and make that one
Hmm.
so that when you're wearing that piece, it speaks volumes.
You know, Geneve, one of the things that I've had several conversations with you, one of the things that immediately jumps out at me is how very thoughtful, how very introspective, and how very wise you are. And I hesitate to say for such a young person, but you are such a young person. Where do you think this came from? This old wisdom, this sense of sense of self. Where did this all come from?
I would say primarily my support system, my parents, the people that raised me, my family. And mainly, I never like to be the smartest person in the room. So I always like to be around people that I can learn from and, that it's mutually beneficial. And I like to soak up a lot of information. So I try to surround myself with people that are a little bit more mature and that have spent 10,000 hours doing what they love.
Hmm.
Whatever their craft is, just, you don't have to be a genius, but someone that really got into studying what they love and who they are. And those are the people that I'm always surrounded by, so it kind of rubs off on me.
And when did you actually make this leap into to earning from your designs?
I'm sorry?
When did you make this leap to earning from your designs?
You said from earning or
Earning,
learning?
earning. Like when did you decide to start selling or marketing your
Oh,
designs?
well, I actually designed a piece. It was in the fall winter season, and I just sent out, a few images to my friends, and they all fell in love with it. And they asked for me to make them one either similar to that or if they could just buy it immediately. I actually have a friend. Her name is Victoria Shelton, and she was one of the first people that recognized the brand and the style that I had, and she put it on a platform to where she actually promoted the piece herself. So I think it just became very appreciated by my peers. And since I had such a high response, positive feedback towards it, I couldn't make X amount of pieces all for free. So I just decided to put a small fee on the piece, pretty much like a sample. And it developed from there. All my friends, all my family, and just, people around me, they really appreciated the piece. And I said, you know what? Make a business out of this.
Hmm.
So that's really what it came from.
What do you tell a young girl who wants to follow in your footstep or want to follow this design path? What do you tell? What are some principles she needs to adhere to or adapt?
I think in whatever path you choose, you should always do it because you love it. So whether it doesn't matter what end of the field you love, but you have to love something about it. So I would say just following your passion, and if you truly love what you do, it'll never feel like work. So I would say to anyone coming into the fashion industry, just love what you do, and you'll work whether you're paid or not. And I think that's where true art comes from, when you're willing to do something without monetary or capital being received, just something that you just do in your sleep, something that is the first thing you do when you wake up and it's the last thing you do when you go to sleep. And I think that's why you should get into whatever you're after, or especially fashion.
You're I keep going back to your youth, but when you don't feel like doing like designing or creating your fashion and so on, what who or what inspires you to get up and do what you have to do?
I would say that I I don't like when I'm idle. I always like to challenge myself.
Mm.
Everything in my life is a project. So if I'm not busy pursuing one of my goals, it doesn't put me in a good place. So I would say that constant need to feel challenged, that constant need to feel like I'm learning. And if I'm not learning, even while I'm, practicing my craft, I don't feel happy. So I would say it's that drive to always want to learn something and to create something and to feel as though you've done something today that can be a reflection of the legacy you want to leave behind. And
Are,
that's really what drives me.
mhm. Are you influenced by current trends or do you follow your own style?
I follow my own style since I'm multicultural.
Uh,
I'm always inspired by the people I'm around, which are multicultural people as well.
mhm.
So I would say, as I travel or as I may go to an event or any type of setting that I'm placed in, I'm always inspired by that moment. So I never follow the trends because my pieces are timeless and they're not something that you need to only wear in a particular year or a particular season. It's a lifeline, a lifetime piece, and that's what I look to create: classics, timeless pieces, and pretty much, just incorporate that with innovation.
Geneve, how would you describe your own style?
My style is very classic, very timeless,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of surprises. Since I'm so unconventional, a lot of what I do goes against the grain. But I notice in any arena that I enter, I'm always well received and I'm always complimented. So although I might go outside the box, it's always with class.
Hmm.
So I can go into any setting and still be appreciated for my style and have the respect as a woman to just be classy about how I present myself.
Tell us about your experience with your business. What was it like when you first started? What were some of your challenges that you had to overcome?
The challenge was, I would say, creating a solid business plan because I don't have a background in business. However, I was able to gather a team of people that were willing to support and guide me in this endeavor. So I would say the first challenge was just really trying to put pen to paper and execute, the whole process through a business plan. And really just once we got over that hump of creating the business plan, everything else was just, beauty. It just everything fell into place and things just aligned themselves very accordingly.
Geneve, we have a young audience that tunes in every now and then to listen to people like yourself. And I'm sure they're wondering, well, okay, so at this particular age, we are thinking that if I'm in a business or something that I'm passionate about, I want to be in control of everything. I want to do everything and make all the money and hold on to it. Where did you get this idea that it is so important to have a team? And why is this team so important?
I think it's important to have a team because you need people that will be honest with you. And sometimes, when you're a confident person, you believe that everything you do is right. So I think as you're going through this process, you need someone that will be honest with you and that will tell you, hey, listen, I suggest, you try things this way or that way. So I think having a team, it puts things into perspective and it helps you create better opportunities for yourself, whereas you are a little bit more absorbent to various perspectives. And I think that diversifies you because you'll open your mind to a larger audience instead of just being so narrow in thinking.
What keeps you grounded, Geneve?
I would say my Savior, the Lord.
Hmm.
Whenever I, am too up on my high horse or I'm just way over the edge on anything, I think God always has a nice way of reminding me of who I am and just, making sure that I show a piece of Him in everything that I do. Because you can be talented, but I think if you don't give God that recognition and you give gratitude and say, thank you, God, for giving me this talent or giving me this opportunity, you get a little big-headed. So I think, God always has His way of humbling me
Mm.
and just making sure that we keep our relationship afloat.
What would you say are people surprised to learn about you when they get to know you?
people will be surprised to know that I wear many hats and I'm very talented in the field of helping people. So I have a lot of gifts, and there's just a lot about me that is always ready to embrace that. So I think as I evolve as a designer and as my brand grows, you'll begin to see more of that.
What is the part about designing that really intrigues you or appeals to you?
The part that really intrigues me is that if there's something that I think about or if there's an idea that catches me, I'm able to create it. I think the worst thing is just having a dream and not being able to live it. So each time I design, I'm fulfilling a dream or a
Geneve,
goal
hold on a
that
second. Let me get right in there. You just dropped a nice pearl on us. You're not gonna get past it. The worst thing is to have a dream and not be able to live it. Is that what you just said?
yes,
Wow. Sorry, continue. I just had to repeat that.
thank you. So I think a lot of us, we allow our dreams to die because we may not have the support or the confidence that we need to go through life and to face our challenges and maybe sometimes our failures. But I think as I grow throughout this industry, I'm seeing that every step I take, I'm fulfilling a dream or a goal or a milestone. And that is progress in itself. That whether it's a checklist or just something I wanted to do for the day, I'm always able to feel as though it's one step closer to my dream or it's an actual dream that has been fulfilled and it never dies inside of me. I'm always able to share it with someone or give a piece of me to the world that someone can appreciate.
Geneve, 5 years from now, when you're sitting here in front of me again and having a conversation about what you have accomplished and what you're excited or happy about, what would you be telling me?
I would tell you that I was able to be recognized as an international brand, as a humanitarian, as a woman that can be an example to all women that you can be smart, you can be ambitious, and you can embody all of who you are and not limiting yourself to the expectations of society, going beyond what you're expected to do. And I think for myself, I just want to share that message with the world, and I want my brand to be the vehicle to do so.
What is your connection to the Caribbean?
Well, my grandfather, he was born in Jamaica, St. Elizabeth, so I am of Caribbean descent, and I think that's very present in my personality, in my designs, and it jumps out at you.
Oh, yes. So what you have this design? I guess you sell you market your design and so on. What makes you unique to buy from? Why should people choose your clothing over Main Street?
For my clothing, you're always going to get timeless pieces, and they're modestly priced. So you will have your red carpet moments, you will have your transitional pieces. A lot of women, they have a hard time finding that. They will love a piece that is worn on the red carpet, but they may not be able to go in their pocket and afford it. I want to bring practicality and luxury into one. And for anyone that desires that, Between Heaven and Hudson is the brand to find it.
Geneva, I'm just curious, and pardon if this question is coming from a place of ignorance, but I'm curious. Here you are in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
Young, brilliant, thoughtful, and progressive. And you're talking about classic pieces, you're talking about timeless pieces, and your generation for the most part, because I know some of them, I have nieces that are thinking about trend, the next hit, the next best thing. What separates you? Why are you so interested in timeless pieces?
Well, I would say I was very inspired by my father. My father grew up in France, so anytime I went school shopping or anytime he came back from a travel, it was always a piece that was just elegant and something that I could wear or use forever. So I realized that there's value in classic pieces. These are not pieces that you throw away. These are
Mm.
not pieces that you try to sell. These are pieces that you wear forever. And I always want to create a line that allows someone to wear something time and time again because, we do need to conserve and we can't always buy out a whole new wardrobe every season. So my pieces will allow you to go from year to year to season and decade to decade so that you'll always have a beautiful black dress or you'll always have a standout piece. And that's what I definitely want to share with everyone.
In the chat room, Denise asks, "Do you wear your own designs?"
Yes, I do. All the time, wherever, whenever. I'm always at any event or just in my daily routine. I always find a way to incorporate my brand into my life. And I'm a walking model.
Where did this all come from, Geneve?
And
Who
what in particular?
this idea to be your own model, to wear your own clothes, to conduct yourself a certain way?
I would say Chanel. She's one of my idols. And
Ah,
I really appreciate what she's done in fashion and I see pieces of me within her. So I definitely want to embody that factor into who I am. And I feel that, I'm able to represent myself. If people don't see or feel your brand or your line, then it's very hard to imagine, hey, what does this piece look like offline or off catalog? How does it wear? And I'm able to exude that every time I wear a piece of my own.
Miss Sonia Noel, one of Guyana's foremost designers, is about to launch a project in celebration of Caribbean's New World style. And this will feature designers from the Caribbean and New York, including young emerging designers.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be part of such an initiative?
I'm truly honored and I'm so grateful that Sonia Noel gave me the opportunity to be a part of the presentation. I think it's very important to pass the torch and to be able to appreciate the talent of another person. So I'm so grateful that Sonia recognizes that in myself and that she trusts my brand will represent many of the beliefs that she has herself.
I think that the theme of this whole initiative is called Bridging the Gap. What can you tell us about that? Do you know anything about it?
I feel as though bridging the gap, it can have many meanings. Specifically, it's bridging the gap to reconnect with culture. And when you're able to connect the Caribbean back to New York, you understand how connected it is. A lot of Caribbeans do settle in New York. So this is a second home for many of us. So I think bridging the gap is just creating a platform so that Caribbean designers are recognized in America and that America sets the light on the Caribbean as well. Because a lot of the inspirations are taken from the Caribbean. A lot of designers, they come to the Caribbean on travel to get inspired. So why not spotlight that, you know, in our own initiative and bring attention to the beauty of the Caribbean beyond tourism, beyond relocation, just have it play in a different arena.
Give us a day. Give us a glimpse in when you're creating something, you know, you have this concept in your head, this idea, in your imagination, and then you transfer it, comes to life. Can you give us a glimpse of some of those steps?
The first step is to be inspired. I was always taught to never look at someone else's design. And that's one thing that I don't do. I may appreciate someone's line, but I never use that in my design scheme. So I'll hold on to my experiences or whatever I can imagine at that moment. So the first step is to be inspired. The next step is to illustrate, and the process thereafter, it's the pattern making, it's so many other things. So I think the most important step is just to be inspired. You never want to create something just to fill a gap. You always, I believe, you should always put a piece of who you are into what you do. And if it can't reflect that, then it's really not you. So I always have to be inspired myself to carry out a design.
In the chat room, Denise said, "So young and so brilliant. Good for you." And Jackie said, "Where can one see your designs?"
You can visit my website, betweenheavenandhudson.com.
What is that?
Spelled out. Again, the website is betweenheavenandhudson.com. You can view our entire collection. And this June, you can see a few new pieces in person at the showcase at Bella Hall.
Jackie said, "I love how articulate she is."
Thank you, Jackie.
How did your parents react to your creative direction?
How did my
Parents react to your creative direction?
I would say they were very delighted. However, they always push education. So they would like me to definitely study further so that I can master my craft. Although I've spent thousands of hours learning and curating many facets of my brand, my parents have always pushed education on me to make sure that I know the ins and outs of whatever I do. So they were very happy, and they just, want to make sure that I'm well prepared by having the knowledge to actually make this a success.
So, before I go on, I want to go back a little bit to Bridging the Gap, this initiative inspired by Miss Sonia Noel. When exactly is it?
June 12th.
June 12th. And are we going to be seeing you there?
You will see me in person and my pieces. So we are a brand that is based in New York. So whenever, one has any inquiry, you can always contact me directly. And this is just a platform on a larger scale for me to share my brand.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited. This is just the moment that I've been waiting for, and I'm so happy that I can do it in my city.
You spoke about how much you are that you are a model for your own clothes and you wear your own clothes and so on. How important is image, the way one conducts and presents oneself in your industry?
I would say it's very important. Your reputation depends on your life. Your name follows you. So it's very important to, represent yourself positively in whatever your name is attached to. So for me, I believe it's just upholding your word, and, your word is your bond. So that is like a living contract that will follow you for your entire career. So you always have to protect your name and make sure that the legacy you leave behind is really what you want people to know and to receive.
How do you deal with setbacks, Geneve?
Setbacks I always learn from. It's never a setback. It's just a learning tool for me to reinforce either what I may have forgotten, what I already know. It's just a nice reminder, and I think setbacks are not really setbacks. It just allows you to use that to put yourself in a better position going forward.
Young, you're brilliant, you you have a good sense of direction.
Yes,
Did, did you always want to be in fashion?
always,
Mm.
always. From the time I was born, my mother would throw parties for my brother, and she would go shopping for me and say, Geneve, what do you want to wear to your brother's party? So for myself, it's just been something I was born into. I was always very dainty, very ladylike. And growing up, someone that I truly admired was Princess Diana in the 90s. So I was always inspired by her fashion. And again, she is one that always wore timeless pieces. So I would say just, by my parents embracing who I am, that allowed me to follow the footsteps into fashion because they didn't close that door for me. They allowed me to express myself. And that was always in the world of fashion.
Your pieces, is there a common thread? Oh, no, no pun intended. But is there a common thread or a common theme among your pieces, or are they all unique?
They're timeless and unique. That's the common theme. And they give you confidence. The moment you put it on, you feel like you can walk into any room. And I feel like that's very important because you need transitional pieces dealing with, the type of society that we're within. You may go from work to an after hour. You may go from work to a meeting or to just different events that may take place. So I think it's very important to have a piece that's practical that you can actually transition to.
Tell us about your favorite piece, if there is such a thing.
My favorite piece is our first piece. It's called Lace Me. It's our bestseller to this day, and it was actually won to an event, Gumball 3000 last year. It's just been our most recognized piece, and it's such a vibrant color, green, which identifies with the Jamaican flag. Surprisingly, it's a green lace piece, and green is not really a color that many women choose to wear when it comes to dresses. So the fact that it's such an odd color and surprisingly fits into a classic lace, it just carries a lot of signature, and that's pretty much been our staple from the beginning even till now.
Denise in the chat room said, "What is your favorite fabric to work with?"
My favorite fabric, I would say silk. I love silk. Silk
Silk.
helps you to breathe. Silk is very classic. Silk is very elegant, and I think it gives you that gloss and that class that you need, for anyone that appreciates style.
Bridging the gap between New York and the Caribbean for designers.
Yes.
When you think about that, I mean, what comes to mind when you think about that concept, that idea?
I think just connecting people. It's very important for women to feel comfortable in business. So when you're able to create a bridge that says, okay, you're Caribbean, you're in America, you can be received anywhere. It's not limiting you to a certain demographic. It allows you to place yourself in different areas whereas you're well received and respected. So I think it definitely gives credibility.
What do you like doing for fun?
What do I like doing for fun?
What do you like doing? Yes.
Designing number one. I'm a foodie, surprisingly.
You do
It may
what?
not- I'm a foodie. I love food. It may not seem so. I'm a size 4. Thank God. However, I love food. I love travel. I love learning. again, I love designing. So it all kind of goes hand in hand for me.
Is there a particular piece you are just craving to design?
I would say I'm going towards gowns. As of lately, I've been requested for wedding gowns. So I think this will be a nice journey for me to start accepting those requests
Hmm.
by getting into the field of gowns and more red carpet wear. That'll allow me to explore some opportunities that I've been kind of putting off to the side.
What's next for you, Geneve?
What's next is really just exposing the brand, making it have notoriety in the fashion world, and just to be recognized as a brand that is reflective of all that we believe in between heaven and hudson. It's given experience through product, knowing that once you purchase a piece, it's not just a piece of clothing. It's an experience. From the moment you set your eyes on it to the moment you wear it, your life will change, and it's just something that's going to give you a totally new outlook on fashion, and I can't wait to share with the world.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for joining us this evening, and I'm
Thank you so
looking
much.
forward to having you again sometime, Geneve.
Thank you so much. Have
You're
a
wel-
great evening, and thank you to all listening.
You're welcome,
Okay, take
and
care.
good luck. Good luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you. You as well.
All right, thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.